Hey, I want to welcome you back to another episode or another live stream of Mastering Your Mindset on Monday. And today we're jumping into another aspect of overthinking. I want you to ask yourself a question. Are you tired? Are you tired of your mind being in this sort of battlefield of endless worries and what ifs? And I want you to imagine for a moment, a life where clarity replaces chaos and peace triumphs over perpetual analysis. Thank you so much for being here today and for joining me as we sort of unpack this particular topic today. Um, Welcome to the channel. Here we focus exclusively on mindset with a very finite focus on overthinking. And so I'm very fortunate to have you here and appreciate your time today. So I want to see if we can together try to gain some clarity here. Um, we have universally a problem right now across the entire breadth of the United States, all age brackets, no one is exempt. 73% of us are overthinking at least 20 minutes a day. And that is a very long time to be in a state that does not serve you well. And so I want to tell you a quick story about a young lady by the name of Sarah. Sarah was a marketing executive, senior manager, but in her organization, it puts her very much toward the top. And she was having some very difficult um, situations with respect to her mindset. She works with a lot of high profile people. She works with some very demanding people being in the marketing space, and results are absolutely paramount. Sarah's been a high performer her entire life, but she had this issue of overthinking, and her mind would just take her on these journeys, and she would have these inner sort of conversations where she was ruminating and ruminating over various aspects of her job and decisions and different type of employee issues. She was beginning to second guess herself. It got to a point where she was losing sleep at night, wasn't able to rest. She was then compounding the situation day over day, week over week. Got to a point where she couldn't even sleep at all. Literally, her job was keeping her up at night. And when we started to really unpack this, what we found is that the what ifs had gone absolutely bonkers. She felt stuck. She was anxious. She just didn't know what she should do to get the outcomes that she was desiring. And as a result, she wore herself out. I share that because I want you to understand that overthinking is not just the act of thinking about something, ruminating about something too much. When done in this particular pattern, like most of us are doing, unfortunately, it can lead to some pretty serious physical and psychological impediments. And the good news is this is a habit, and like any other habit, with some training, it can be changed. Over time, after working with Sarah in one of our programs, what she found very quickly is that through some techniques we're going to share today, we can raise the level of awareness, and we can raise it very quickly. And she got to a point where those impediments were not holding her down in the way that they had in time past. It is our hope today that you have, if this is applicable, or if you have a loved one where this is applicable and they have a story similar to Sarah's, you can share the actionable steps that we'll talk through toward the middle of this talk. Now, what is, or why do we think overthinking is an issue. Why do we think that? We think overthinking is an issue because of the scenario I just painted for you. We think overthinking is an issue because it takes so much of our capital, our emotional capital, to deal with those things over and over again and not reach resolution and not be able to take action, literally remain in a paralyzed state. Um, Besides that, the emotional draw, the potential to have psychological and physical impact in the body, it just plain wears us out. And so we want to take steps to rid ourselves of this particular issue. And I think how we do that right out of the gates is let's take a moment to understand what are some of the triggers that cause us to be in this situation. Psychology points to three core reasons, and I want to break these down just a little bit and give you as much clarity as necessary for you to walk away with a very good understanding. First is the fear of the unknown. Our brains are wired for survival, right? Not necessarily happiness, where survival is a protective mechanism. Um, when you don't have the answers, your brain, your mind tries to fill in the blanks for you. And God forbid it's a situation where you've had a situation in time past that didn't go so well. So when that happens, then you get some of the worst case scenarios. The idea of analysis paralysis just gets really bold, 72 type font. It's really, really big. And then we start to catastrophize, right? Where we're just looking at this thing as it's getting ready to melt down. We're going to be right dab smack in the middle of it. And really, this thing is too big for us to deal with, and we should retreat. That in and of itself is the reason, one of the reasons why this protective mechanism, when it goes south, it causes us to pause. This is the part that makes us stuck, that it prevents us from moving forward. And so when we're in this state, right, it creates anxiety, it creates for us stress, and those things compounded, we see ourselves much like Sarah. We're worried about circumstances. We're worried about what our boss is going to think. We're worried about what people may say if we don't get this specific outcome. And we start to replay this and replay it and replay it until it gets so big that it starts to have impact on the psyche as well as on the body. So if you're keeping score, this is one of three, and we've titled this one Fear of the Unknown. Number two, you guys will have heard of this one certainly, and it's called perfectionism. And as you very well know, this guy is very elusive, somewhat sneaky, because at the end of the day, what he's trying to do is masquerade himself um, in I'm just gathering all of the facts. I'm just making sure that I understand all of the variables, right? When we want to get everything right, we replay scenarios and decisions, and we do so with the hope of avoiding mistakes. But if you know, like I know, perfectionism is a moving target. You never get to be the person that your mind wants you to be, free of all of the issues, free of all of the concerns, and everything buttoned up so tight that nothing dare go wrong. In fact, the more you chase it, the more anxious you become. And research from Dr. Brand Brown shows that perfectionism is generally a shield. We use it to protect ourselves from judgment, and it ends up fueling self doubt and overthinking. And if you know anything about perfectionism, it too has a tremendous drain on the body and leads directly into number three, which is low self confidence. There was a period of time when I didn't trust myself, the definition of low self confidence. And I just remember being in this funk of sort where no matter what I wanted to do, desired to do, I overthought it, I overanalyzed it. I tried to, throw darts at every single scenario, and it just wore me out. So when you don't trust yourself, you overanalyze everything. You're looking for reassurance, right? That you're doing the right thing. And there's a lot of people that we have the opportunity to work with that see imposter syndrome creeping in as a result. You start to question your ability. Even when you're like super duper smart, a high income earner, very qualified or certified in your field, just like Sarah. I mean, she had all of the degrees, she had the time in the trenches, she had the certifications, she had the social media know-how, but she used to ask herself all the time, did I say the right thing? Could I have done that better? That part right there, I definitely could have done better. There was just this sort of consistent and constant judgment, right? Did I make the right call? And that in and of itself will drain your resources. Listen, we've only got a finite amount of capital for each day. And if we take that capital and expend it all early in the day, now we are pressed for the rest of the day. And that's not a sustainable model. If you've ever heard about people who are um, wearing themselves out, who are experiencing burnout, this could very well be some of the causes. So we talked about three different triggers, right, that cause us perpetually to overthink. The University of Michigan found that 73% of adults between the age of 25 and 35 admit to overthinking regularly. Now, this is our next generation. Our next generation is going up to their mentors and to their coaches, and they're finding that their mentors and coaches are experiencing the exact same thing. They too are overthinking and can't provide good guidance because they themselves haven't gotten this down. This is a nationwide epidemic, right? So if in fact this is something that um, you are experiencing, just know that you're not by yourself, and there may not be a whole lot of comfort in that, but if you felt like you're not enough as a result of this, you can definitely put an X through that because that would not be true. And here's the kicker. Overthinking doesn't just drain your energy, right? There's some very pronounced links in science that show higher rates of anxiety and depression and those physical problems that I shared with you, even with the rest profile that Sarah went through. Add to that insomnia, add to that high blood pressure. The American Psychological Association reported that there's chronic, if you will, overthinking that is taking place. And a lot of people are unable to get a decent night's sleep and are on the brink of burnout. So this is a really serious matter. It's not just a mental issue. This is a whole body issue. And I'm thinking about Sarah again, and she was stuck in all three of these traps: fear of the unknown, perfectionism, low self confidence. But the good news is, once she understood what was driving her, once she gained an appreciation for the techniques that we're about to get into, she was able to turn that around very quickly. So I share with you that there is hope. You do not have to remain in this state. You too can conquer overthinking. And I just want to thank each of you for the time that you spend each Monday with this particular live stream. If you find value in this, I would highly recommend that you subscribe and follow. We'll be doing this to assist you each Monday so that you have an edge and that you are better equipped to deal with this in your life and in life and in the lives of the people who are important to you. So, what does letting go mean? In order for us to transition from the triggers to letting go, we need to understand what this means. And we're not ignoring what is taking place. We're not pretending that the problem doesn't exist. No, 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 we're not doing that. What we're saying is there is a need for us to control the situation and to remain in control of the narrative. We are responsible for controlling the narrative. So when there's a release, what is happening is we are accepting that uncertainty is a part of life. We are accepting that there's not an opportunity right now for us to know every single thing that will go wrong. I've had some friends who have tried to query AI models to see if that too would help them gather all of the facts to cover every set of circumstances, and that too failed. So we have to come to a conclusion that life is going to throw some curveballs. And when life throws those curveballs, we are going to have to learn how to ebb and flow with what's going on. Loosening the grip, right, that day to day changes have on us is going to be paramount as well. When we hold fast to the pattern, because it's a pattern, this is a learned set of behaviors, we hold fast to that, we're unable to let it go. And if you are a person that is type A like me, you find comfort in being able to be consistent. And being consistent is leveraging some of those patterns. I'm going to share with you in just a moment two things that you can begin to do that do not chip away at your desire to be structured, to have a plan. But remember, it's with one caveat, and the caveat is this: life is going to throw you some curveballs. And when you have a curveball thrown at you, that's not your time to give up. It's not your time to re enter into the pattern. It's your time to pause for a minute and prepare yourself to let go. Pause for a moment and prepare yourself to let go. There's two things I want to share with you that are deeply rooted in science that I believe have helped me time and time again, as well as a lot of the people that we're fortunate enough to hang out and to work with. And the first one is what we call mindfulness. And when a person is mindful, really what that means is you're able to catch yourself when you start spiraling. You're able to pause, get quiet, not do anything additional with whatever the stimulus was coming in. Pause that for a minute, get some wits about yourself, breathe, prevent this cortisol spike from taking place, and then lean into what just happened. I was feeling good, now I don't feel good anymore. What was it in the message, in the communication in the life situation, in the circumstance that caused me to feel this way, right? When you're mindful, you're in the moment. You're not too far out front. You're certainly not looking in the rearview mirror. You're right now in the present. And when you can do that very consistently, what you will find is that you are heightening your sense of awareness. And when you heighten your awareness, you are in fact being mindful. You can begin then to catch yourself before you start the pattern or before you start that typical behavior, right? So when you're doing this, you take a step back, you let the situation or the stimulus pass for just a moment, take a couple of deep breaths, get anchored in the moment, and ask yourself, what's going on? Why am I feeling like this? What has taken place to take me out of my good state and place me into this current state? Why do I feel the way I feel? Why are these emotions bubbling up? Why are images from yesteryear coming forward to meet some of these feelings, right? When you do that again, this puts you squarely in control of the narrative. Remember, we said that you need to be in control of the narrative. And this is the same point at which Sarah was able to begin implementing steps to take control of her day, to take control of her mindset so that she could break the cycle. In professional personal development, we say that awareness is sort of the foundation for everything that we do. And so, to the extent that we can really get that right, then we can do other things. So, mindfulness and heightened awareness, sort of your baseline. And then from there, what we're going to ask you to do is to practice reframing. Reframing is when you challenge your overthinking by asking, what's the evidence for this thought? So early on, we talked about Sarah and how Sarah was really amping up quite a few of the situations that she was experiencing. Um, well, when those what ifs start to come in, if they're coming in and they're coming in hot, so to speak, that is numerous, you're going to have to um, organize your mind. And that means writing those down in your journal, right? Then after you get those written down, then you can begin to take a look at them one by one and ask, what is the probability of this taking place? What evidence do we have that that's going to play out, right? Um, and then the reframing is, how can I look at this differently? How can I change the way that this is making me feel or react? What I like to say, or what a what I've learned to say to myself is, I want to take the opposite of what it is that is making me feel that way. So if, like yesterday, as an example, I was feeling some sort of way, I did exactly what I'm asking you to do, the exact same steps. And when it came to the reframing, I told myself, working on a really big effort and it's not going the way I wanted it to go. And I was starting to feel like perhaps maybe I'm the problem. Well, what I told myself is that I'm just inside of this messy middle. There's no reason for me to be uptight, to be upset, and to start coming down hard on myself. It's just a part of growing this specific track of the business. Nothing else. There isn't anything else to this other than that. And then immediately I was able to snap out of it. I was able to get some wits about myself, regain the good state that I was in. Did take a couple of hours, I'll be honest, but I was able to get that back and then move on and enjoy the rest of the day. So studies have shown that reframing also are able to reduce anxiety, and they break the cycle of ruminating. Ruminating is when we're thinking about those what ifs and all of those negative vibrations that come along with those what ifs when they start to feel scary. And there's also studies that suggest that when we begin to reframe, we're able to then, with at least 45% accuracy, let go of those situations so we can be free to move forward without the stress, without the anxiety, and without the draw on our emotional capital. So these are two things that, again, deeply rooted in science that you can begin to deploy right now to get you closer to being rid of this particular ailment. Again, this is something that we have learned, and to the extent that we have learned it, we can also unlearn it. So I want you to try it out and see how they work for you. And remember, um, this is about progress. We crawl, walk, run. So we're not expecting perfectionism the first time we try this. We do it over and over and over, and iteratively, we get better and better and better until it is just a part of what we do. And to the extent that we get to that point, now we are firmly in control of our destiny. We are firmly in control of the narrative. So Sarah was able to deploy these exact same tactics. She was able to turn her situation completely around. Again, it was not overnight, it was over a 5 week time horizon. But by the time she got to that fifth week, she had it down pat because she practiced every single day. When we suggest practical application, it does not suggest in any way, shape, or form that the next day you are just going to emerge problemless. You are not going to emerge with mastery. It's going to take you some time, like Sarah, 4, 3, 4, 5, maybe 5 weeks for you to get this down, for you to get this firmly rooted on the inside so you can literally let it go, so that you can have a sort of peace and comfort about your life that does not involve overthinking. And so, more peace, more confidence, and a life that feels a lot lighter. We see that people who deploy these tactics, not only do they get freed from the overthinking, but they get freed from those physical ailments like the insomnia, the hypertension, the depression. All of these things seem to feather away over time. So I'm hopeful that you will deploy these immediately. Know that overthinking is common, but it's not permanent, and we can fix it. And by understanding some of the information that we've shared today and letting go, pausing, practicing mindfulness, and reframing, now you can get out of the sort of psychological hamster wheel and get back to doing life, and doing life in a way that makes you feel good during the day instead of some of those other ruminations that are taking place in the overthinking that draw from you all of your valuable resources way too early in the day, leaving you feeling sort of drained and lacking luster for the rest of the day. So again, I'm hopeful that this was helpful for you. Um, we do these again each Monday in the form of a live stream so that we can interact. We typically have a moderator, but she has taken sick, so we don't have a moderator today, but we will going forward. Want to again thank you so much for your time today. And if you find this information helpful, do remember to subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and help me understand in the comments if any of these situations you've experienced, you've had a loved one experience. I'll be very happy to know about that, and I most certainly will reply to each of the comments. Till next time, till next week, you guys have a fantastic day, fantastic week, and I shall see you next Monday.